Bim, oh, you're up there. I forgot I moved the camera. Bim, guess what? We are live. It is the 2nd of September 2023, and that can only mean one thing. It's time for What a Week That Was. And this week we're looking at concrete. We're looking at, well, we're playing a game of Dead or Alive, and we're also going to have a look at what's going on in the world of Trump and his cronies, as well as a gazillion other things as well. But one of the questions I'm being asked at the moment is, are you a conspiracy theorist? And my answer is no, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm mainly putting across my opinions as to what I think is going on in the world. It's up to you to decide whether or not you agree with them. I'm not telling you what is so, and I don't scream and shout, and I don't swear. So, yeah, I am not a conspiracy theorist. However, I do think aliens are running the world. No, I'm joking. Hi, Alan. Welcome to the show. Inni. It's welcome to the show. Inni. We are live, and it is 1 minute past now. So, much excitement is going on. We will look at the breaking news and see what's happening in the world. Iceland will get rid of several stores this month, including one shutting its doors today. That was 5 hours ago, so it's too late now. Gym that shut at the start of the COVID pandemic to be converted into a large new bazaar, including shops and restaurants, and that's somewhere in Yorkshire. The Home Secretary orders review into political activism within policing. Jimmy Buffett has died, aged 76. He was an American singer-songwriter. Nobel Foundation withdraws Russian and Belarus entries. Government in advanced talks over a £500 million Tata Steel aid package. Queen Elizabeth tributes at the Highland Games. Flesh-eating bacteria lurking post-hurricane waters. Sounds horrendous. Now France calls for the cost of British flights to Europe to be increased. Of course it does. Doesn't want us anywhere to do that. He's scared that we will end up being joined by France. Heat wave is on the way. Don't hold your breath though. What else is going on? You should never buy a 4K laptop. Ah, it's one of them stupid adverts things. Anyway, there you go then. So that's the current breaking news. Hi JT. Hi Rachel as well. Hope you're good. Hope you're doing whatever it is you're doing and enjoy doing it. Whatever it is you're doing. Just cause you can, innit? So, yeah, am I a conspiracy theorist? No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do have ideas about what is going on in the world, and I will share them with you during the course of these broadcasts. I appear to have chopped half my arm off, which is a bit worrying, so I need to reinstate my arm somewhat. Whoops, that's not reinstating my arm. Never let it be said I'm professional. Ah, I'm pressing the wrong button. No, I'm still pressing the wrong button. There we go, got my arm back. Right then, so let's get this show on the road in it. And we'll start with what was happening on that there Sunday. And that was last Sunday, obviously. And that is the fact that everyone's favourite... Oh, what's going on here? We need to do that. There we go. Everyone's favourite country, which is Russia, have said that Yegor Prigozhin has been confirmed as dying in the air crash from last week or the week before. We're enjoying what we're doing, watching the UFC and this. Oh well, I'll strip off if you want, and then you can think, and I'll do that, and then you'll think that you're watching the UFC and the UFC. I'm joking, and we'll do that for my vlogs. Yeah, I think he is dead. However, I don't think he died in an aeroplane crash. This is my theory. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. The leader of the Wagner Group decided to march all his troops to Moscow in order to have a word, shall we say, with the people he didn't agree with in the parts of the government, the Russian government, which is basically the defence guys. So the generals and everything, because he wasn't getting the weapons, he wasn't getting the money, he wasn't getting the food for his troops. Seemed a reasonable argument, to be fair. I mean, bear in mind there was a war going on as well, so it's quite important you have all them things. So he went off, and it was all kicking off, and then all of a sudden, everything was okay. And he's like, okay then, we're not going to go there anymore, I'm going to go to Belarus. Putin sorted it all out, everything's fantastic, blah de blah de blah. And then no one ever really sees him again, apart from this weird coverage that we saw of him, what looked like in some kind of stable yard. And it was dark, and you only saw the back of him, and he was kind of ranting a little bit about something or other, I don't know what. I don't speak Russian. And that was it. And then next thing we know, he's disappeared, and then next thing we know, he's died in a plane crash. Well, no, he probably died before the plane crash. But how do you get rid of a body when people are looking for a body? Well, what you do is, you burn it in a plane crash. So either he was already on the plane dead, and they crashed the plane, or B, it was an empty plane, there was no one in it at all, or someone decided to do it for the cause, and crashed the plane, and then they said he was dead in the plane. Either way, I think he probably is dead, unless of course he's not. But I don't think he died, I don't think he was alive in that plane, and I don't think he died in the plane crash. But I'm not saying his body wasn't in the plane crash, because it gets even more weird, especially with the funeral. Anyway, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's what I'm saying. So, meanwhile, it looks like progress is being made by the Ukrainians, getting back some of their land from the Russians. Bit of a map here that kind of shows you in the light blue, aqua, the gains that have been gotten by the Ukrainians. And what they're trying to do is to cut off a lot of the supply routes for the food and weapons and everything that are going to the troops in Russia, particularly more southern Russia. They keep blowing up the bridge between Crimea and Russia itself, so that means they have to come over the land. So if they can block off the land, they can then starve off the people who are on the wrong side of the line that they're doing. Turns out that the Russians are now moving troops from the north to this area to try and fight back. But it also turns out that the M1 tanks are on the way. Everyone's been trained up now, and they will be kicking some Ruski bottom very soon indeed. Tragedy happened in some very serious rain in Liverpool in the United Kingdom. 2 people have sadly died under a bridge in some very heavy floodwaters. And it's difficult to know why someone drove through the floodwaters, because seeing pictures of it when it's been flooded before, not necessarily this event, it does seem that it is very, very deep indeed, and it's somewhere where I would definitely turn around and go back again, because it's an actual dip and goes up again. Whereas the floodwaters I've driven through generally are flat, and they're just very slow amount of rising up. Anyway, sadly 2 people have passed away trying to clear that water. Meanwhile, in the Met Police, which seems to be having a torrid 2023, they're definitely having a heinous horribilis, as the late Queen once said. They've now got a data breach of Met Police officers, including names, rankings, where they're positioned, and even undercover officers as well, but not their home addresses or home phone numbers. It turns out it's a third-party company that have been brought in to handle payroll or something similar. And it's great when you do all that out of house, because you pay less. But of course, if you pay less, you get a worse service. My argument always is, if you privatise something, i.e. any part of the government, because you want to make it cheaper, i.e. maybe homes for the elderly, maybe mental health care, maybe the catering for the hospitals, whatever, you privatise it, what happens is you pay a private company less money than what it costs you to actually run the thing, and they are expected to give you as good a service as what you got previously, when they're a company who are only interested in making money. So they're getting less money than what you were paying previously, so you're saving money, but they've got to make a profit. So in order to make a profit, what they do is they cut the costs, and then the services go down. And it would seem that this security breach was something along them lines. There was some good news though on Sunday. Doris, yeah, I know how, she resigned finally, after weeks of saying she was resigning, from the cabinet. Well, the only people who really noticed were the Labour people, because, well, they think it's great that she's gone. Personally, I think it's great she's gone as well, because she was a bit useless. Talking of which, we'll be coming to a useless later. Jeff Useless. See what I did there? I did a useless joke. But no, that was good news. She did try and slag off, what's he called, Rishi Sunak, but let's be honest, you don't need to be Brain of Britain to slag him off. Anyway, Monday came, as it does, after Sunday. Always does, every week, unless it doesn't. And there's a massive problems with the UK air traffic control systems. It turns out, that there is an issue, and it's basically a glitch, and they don't know what it caused it or why it's happened initially. Later turns out someone put in an incorrect route or something, and it completely threw the system off. The system was only down for a few hours, but it literally went on for days. People were getting stranded in different parts of the world, couldn't get back home for work and various other bits and pieces as well. People couldn't fly out, there was delays, there was cancellations. It was like you were trying to get on a train. It was so bad, it was awful. I know, sorry. Meanwhile in Spain, protests on the streets over the kiss, the World Cup final, when the Spanish FA president kissed one of the players squarely on the lips. Obviously not the right thing to do, but not the protest wasn't the right thing to do. The actual kiss wasn't the right thing to do, but I think there is a little bit of blowing out of proportion going on here, and it's getting a little bit silly now with masses of people on the streets protesting about it. She's a big Boris supporter, Nadine Dorries. Well, that just shows you how stupid she is, doesn't it? The police are told to investigate all thefts and crimes. As we know, if you have a theft, a crime against you, then you do not see the police. You just get a crime number, you ring them up, they give you a crime number, that's the end of investigation. Now, I don't know how the police are meant to do this, bearing in mind they've been cut back so much for so long by the Tory cutbacks. But anyway, good luck to them. But maybe what they need to do less is concentrate on stuff that's like not that important, like someone calling someone fat on the internet, and looking into that, maybe look into, kiddie fiddling or gun crime or drugs or something, something serious, or even speeding. Let's get the police doing police stuff. That's what they get paid for, isn't it? Not sitting on a computer going, oh, you can't say that, we'll have to arrest you now. So yeah, they've been told to do that. I know shoplifting, apparently if the person stole less than 200 quid, the police wouldn't come out, and then it went up to 800 quid. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many shopping trolleys would that be if you were coming out of Tesco? But anyway, now apparently even if you nick a £1 item from Tesco, the police are obliged to turn up. So you might as well just stick a policeman in every supermarket in the country, and then have one in every shopping mall as well, just save time. Anyway, we'll see how it'll happen, but nothing will happen, let's be honest, because nothing ever does. Donald Trump, yay. His trial date has been set for the 4th of March next year, which is literally a day or 2 days before the nominees for the elections, who's going to represent his party at the election for the president. The two people who passed away in the car were Elaine and Philip Margot, both pensioners, and very big in the Jewish community in Liverpool, and pretty much buried together. Family absolutely devastated, obviously, but as they said, the only comfort they can get from this, apart from wanting answers as to how the hell this happened, is the fact that they were together until the end, which I suppose is some comfort, but not really fit under the circumstances. Meanwhile, Sir Elton John, everyone's favourite Sir, has been in hospital after a fall, because he's getting on a bit now. You know what it's like when you get on a bit, you have a fall and you have to go to hospital for a long while. But he was in Spain, so he got treated straight away because he was in his villa, and he got sent home as well, and he didn't catch COVID while he was there. So Brucey bonus. Who says that the European health service is better, not as good, sorry, as the NHS? Tuesday came upon us, more chaos at the airports. Air traffic control apologised for it, but they will not pay compensation. Apparently the airlines have to pay the compensation for cancelled flights, even though for once it wasn't their fault. I know, who knew? Anyway, we'll see how that pans out, but I'm not expecting any amount of money very soon. Meanwhile, Persegav's funeral took place pretty much in secret. It was a very private affair. The press weren't told where it was or when it was or anything. There was a few people who kind of let people know when it was and where it was. But the whole thing just was shrouded in mystery, and that's because probably he's not in the coffin, one way or another. Was he in France? I thought he was in Spain. Well, we're on about Elton John, not Prigozhin. Although to be fair, Prigozhin might actually be in France, because he could be anywhere. As we saw a few weeks ago, he's a master of disguise. But yeah, the whole thing is very, very peculiar. I don't quite know why we're all obsessed with this man, but yeah, we are, in a weird way. I mean, not in a good way, but yeah, in a weird way. And meanwhile, in the UK, the government wants more houses to be built, possibly for all these migrants, God knows. But that seems to be the popular opinion anyway when you speak to people. And they've said that they're going to relax the water pollution in the rivers and various other water areas in order to facilitate the building of considerably more houses. The whole thing stinks of corruption. If we actually had control of our borders, you know, can you imagine if we had a referendum where we actually got control of our borders, and then we could actually tell people who came into the country that they're not allowed in the country and send them back where they came from, particularly if they come over in dinghies. Wouldn't life be so much easier? But sadly, apparently, that's not happened. Anyway, they're going to build more houses, and these houses will be able to drain liquids and stuff into, well, antiquated sewers, which will therefore overflow and pollute the rivers. But it's fine because the levels have been raised for the pollution in rivers, so let's not worry, eh? Everything's going to be great. We'll all have somewhere to live at a reasonable price, said no one ever, unless of course you're an illegal immigrant, allegedly. Meanwhile, Imran Khan has had his jail term overturned for corruption. I don't know whether he's been released or not, but he certainly had his jail term, which was, let's be honest, a trumped up crime, not the use of the word Trump there. Talking of trumped up, the rather ridiculous ULEZ scheme in London has been expanded dramatically. Now, I'm all for, you see where it says London in the middle of the map, and there's like the darker bit with like a browny ring, red ring round it. I'm all for that being a ULEZ because, you know, traffic in London, you can walk quicker than the traffic. The traffic is just standing, all the engines are running, you've got buses, you've got taxis. I dare say a lot of the taxis now are battery powered, but either way, it's not very pleasant in London city centre, but now they're doing it all the way out in Harrow, Edgware, Enfield, Romford, Dagenham, Berkeley, Sidcup, Orpington, Croydon, Kingston upon Thames, Twickenham. Yeah, basically they've expanded it into the countryside where there is no problem with traffic. It is just basically, it's either, now I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I am not a conspiracy theorist. However, this is my thoughts on this one. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. 15-minute cities. Now 15-minute cities, I've discussed this a few times on here and on my newspaper column in the local paper, and I've said many times that 15-minute cities are basically the authorities, be it local or national or international governments, putting us back in our little boxes, and by our boxes I mean villages. So basically you live in a town, and that town becomes part of a zone around the main town of your area. So in Greater Manchester, you've obviously got Manchester itself and the immediately surrounding districts, which would be the core, the centre bit like this London bit here. And then out of that you've got Stockport, you've got Wigan, you've got Bolton, you've got Oldham, you've got Blackburn, you've got Rochdale, all coming off around. There's others as well, but we'll go with them. And you basically live in one of them. So I live in Wigan. So in Wigan we've got a hospital, we've got a college stroke university, it's a college. We've got schools, we've got dentists, we've got doctors, we've got places for people to work. And the idea is you don't need to leave or travel more than 15 minutes away from your house in order to do everything that you need to do. So it's very much like it was back in the day, back in the 1500s, where you were born in your village, you went to school in your village, you met your partner in your village, you got married in your village, you had kids in your village, you worked in your village, you died in your village, and you were buried in your village. And the thing was, you didn't know what else was going on, because the government had clamped down on it. Well, no, they hadn't clamped down on it. The governments at the time, no, sorry, the infrastructure at the time meant that you didn't really know what was going on 2 villages away from your village. So this idea of the zones would appear to be a similar kind of thing. So you're born in Wigan Zone, for example, and you can do everything, including being buried or cremated or whatever, in that zone. So why the hell would you need to leave it? Everything's there that you need. So you won't necessarily know what's going on in Oldham, or you wouldn't necessarily know what was going on in Tameside or whatever. It all seems a little bit get back in your box type thing. And I'm all for freedom. Yes, it's great if your workplace is 15 minutes away from your house, I get that, but we should be allowed to travel out of our zones. You can do in your own vehicle, but you can only do it a certain number of times. And then if you do it more than that, the cameras pick it up, and either you get a knock on the door, why do you keep going to Tameside? Or why do you keep going to Blackburn or whatever? Or you'll just get fined or a charge for it. And it's all done under the let's keep the planet from burning lie that's going on. I'm not saying there isn't global warming. What I'm saying is the United Kingdom is insignificant to any global warming that's going on anywhere, and anyone who says anything different is, well, an idiot. Britain definitely punched above its weight for centuries. We basically controlled half the planet at one point. We still control, indirectly, quite a bit of it. But the actual footprint of the UK is minuscule. If you dropped the entire United Kingdom, including Scotland and Northern Ireland, in Australia, you'd be hard pressed to find it. I mean, literally, it is tiny. So if we all stopped existing for whatever reason, and therefore we stopped producing any carbon, any fumes, anything like that, it would not make a bit of difference to the perceived global warming of the rest of the world. So all these Go Stop Oil protesters and all this other tossers that are out there, if they think that they're helping the planet by stopping us in the UK from using oil and coal or whatever, they're so misguided, it's untrue. What they need to do is, we'll stick them on a boat. We've got loads of boats. All them ones that the illegal immigrants are coming over in, we'll give them a few of them and we'll send them over to China. And they can go and protest in China, because let's be honest, that's one of the bigger polluters. We can send them to America. They're also one of the biggest polluters. We can send them to Russia, another one of the biggest polluters. See how they get on there, see how many bullets they get in their head. The United Kingdom, no matter how big we think we are, no matter how good we think we are insignificant. So all this ULEZ stuff is absolute codswallop. I agree with it in the city centres, where the traffic is really, really bad, particularly if you've got a lot of people living there, particularly children or the elderly, yeah. But when you start getting to the countryside, I mean, they're trying to get Wigan into the CAS, which was the Greater Manchester version of ULEZ, and you're like, there's no traffic problems here, apart from the ones that have been created since by the council, who've removed lanes of traffic to put cycle lanes in that no one uses. The whole thing stinks of corruption. And yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, though. I'm not a conspiracist theorist. He's telling the truth. Who's telling the truth? Mikolaj. I'll call you Maiko, because I apologise for saying your name wrong. But I'll call you Maiko if that's okay. Who's telling the truth? You're not thinking of what's he called? Mayor of London. Jeepers. So yeah, all 32 districts of London are now in the ULEZ. And you think, what's going on in their mind? And then you read this story and you think, maybe they've all got worms in their head. Now there's a lot of people saying, and this is absolute BS, that the people who are ruling the planet are lizards, and the royal family are all lizards, and blah de blah de blah, and they're being controlled by, by powers and all this rubbish, absolute nonsense. However, I'm not so sure about this. This was a live worm that was found in a brain of a woman who was complaining of vomiting, nausea, and headaches, etc. Oh, me, Miko. Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It wasn't controlling her though. It wasn't like one of them worms on Limbo. I don't think that, if you've ever played Limbo and it goes on your head and then it's very difficult to control the character because the worm thing's controlling you. But it was 8 centimetres long and it's horrendous. They reckon she ate some contaminated food. I don't think it was even meat. I think it was some kind of vegetable or grass or something, which may have had the faeces from a creature on there, which hadn't been washed properly, and the faeces contained the eggs of these worms. These worms then hatched in the gut, which would explain the diarrhea and the vomiting, but then somehow this one's worked its way up to her brain. But no, it's absolute nonsense to think that these things are okay. I don't think it's okay. I'm just getting over someone saying I'm talking the truth. I mean, I'm talking my truth. Like I've said before, it's up to you to make your own decision as to whether or not you think what I'm saying is true, or whether you think I'm talking rubbish. That's why it's a debate. Join in. Let's have a chat. Meanwhile, I hate saying people's names, but Letby, the child murdering bitch, she is going to be part of an inquiry to find out how they can get the people whom have been convicted of heinous crimes, or any crime for that matter, to appear in court to get their justice given in person, rather than being a coward and hide down in the cells in the bottom of the courthouse, which is exactly the same thing as that murdering scumbag who shot the poor woman in the Wirral on Christmas Eve. He did exactly the same thing. Now the argument is, if you drag them up and they don't want to come up, they'll scream and shout and cause a lot of things. I say just inject them with something that will calm them down, so at least they're there, and or just gag them. I don't care. I mean, the murdering scumbags, as far as I'm concerned, you can chuck them out of a top floor window. They don't deserve any pity, and they don't deserve any protection. They should get the full force of what people want to say to them, witness statements, etc. Because it's horrible. As is a hurricane. Hurricane in America, Florida in particular, wasn't as bad as people feared, but it was still one of the worst ones they've had for a while. And meanwhile, talk about not being, Mr. Cleverly, he's gone, he's one of our chief cabinet ministers, he's gone to China to work on the relations between us and China. And right, why have we got relations with China? The only reason we've got relations with China is because we can't fall out with them, because China, I've said this before, apologies if you watch every week, the problem with China is that they have very cleverly, and I mean very cleverly, pun intended, because he's called Cleverly, our guy, have quietly took all the production from all over the world into China and done it cheaper. And I'm sure they've lost money on it, but they don't care, because what they wanted to do was to become, or the world to become so reliant on them that we cannot put sanctions on them if they decide to do something that we don't agree with. So Cleverly's gone over to try and smooth things out, even before things have gone properly tits up. I mean, we've actually got the situation now where China has got human rights issues with the Uyghurs and all that kind of thing. It's also bullying Taiwan, which is a dependent state. It's not a country, apparently. I don't even know what that means, but apparently it's not a country. It's a dependent state. It's not a country anyway. but it's basically free of China, but China want it back, and they kept saying they were going to invade it. They're also building all these islands in the middle of the China Sea, which is illegal. They're just absolutely being prats, and we are being, oh, we want to make more trade deals with you and all that. No, what we should do is we should be, our people who are being made unemployed over here because China's nicked all our jobs, we should be reinvesting in industries now for the future. And my big industry for the future is not car batteries. That's an absolute, I'm not even going to start the car battery thing. We should be looking at green hydrogen. We've got loads of places where we could give someone like Toyota, BMW, Rolls-Royce a massive amount of land which is contaminated because it was old steelworks or somewhere else where you can't build houses or anything else, but they can use that land free of charge as long as they invest everything and we produce green hydrogen, because it's just so much better than even thinking about battery powering every car on the planet, because that's just the most stupid thing ever. Again though, there's a bit of that going on, a bit of corruption in order for people to say that that is the way forward. Batteries. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go onto the playlist of what a week that was, look at my 3 rants video I did a few weeks ago. Basically I had 3 massive rants, and one of them was about electric cars, so rather than repeating all that, go and have a look at that if you wish. But not yet, because obviously we're only on Wednesday, we've still got Thursday yet. And Thursday, well, hang on, what's going on here? There we go. Where's it gone? There it is. Come back, there we go. So yeah, Thursday, we're getting nearly the end of the week now, but we've still got loads to go. Remember, we've got all the American news, and we've got also the Australian news, and then we've got the stuff that makes us smile at the end, because we need something like that, don't we? We need something to make us smile. Anyway, where are we up to? Where's it gone? There they are. In Johannesburg, in South Africa, a fire in what looks like, I'll be honest with you, a shopping mall, or a British Home Stores store or whatever. But apparently it was apartments where a lot of people were living, a lot of people who were very poor, and a fire started. There were some fire doors locked, and at the time of the fire at least 70 were dead, but more were feared to be dead as well. What about an electric BMW? As long as it's white, we're fine. But yeah, it's unfortunate that governments around the world seem to be incapable of keeping people safe. Meanwhile, in the UK, a school has had a beam collapse. Thankfully, the school was closed at the time because of the summer holidays. The beam collapsed because it's made of what they call, what is it? I've written it down here just so I know what it's called, but I can't find it. Where's it gone? I've written bad concrete. It's not called bad concrete, you idiot. It's called RAAC concrete. And basically what they do is they make it lighter by blowing air into it, like whisking it up, and then making buildings out of it. And they did it from like the 1950s to about the 1980s, maybe 1990s. So pretty much every building that's built in that period, particularly government buildings, in order to save money, rather than using solid concrete, they'd use this. Basically, think of an aero chocolate bar. No, it's not quite that airy, but that's a general idea. Maybe more of a whisper bar. And that's what the concrete was made into. And now, funnily enough, amazingly, it's starting to crack and crumble because, well, there's nothing to it apart from air and a bit of concrete. So now they're saying that schools have got to shut or close down parts of the school because it's dangerous for staff and pupils. And you're like, no poo Sherlock. So we'll have to wait and see how many are involved with that, but I can imagine it's going to be a considerable amount. Meanwhile, if you remember the tragic story of these 2 young lads, young teenagers, who were killed when their motorbike that they're on there crashed shortly after this image was taken, allegedly being chased by a police officer in a marked police van. Now, I've seen the footage at the time, and I talked about it at the time, and these were not going overly fast, I would say. I'm not saying they weren't doing the speed limit. I'm not saying they were keeping within the speed limit, but they weren't, you know, racing like mad. But as you can see, neither of them have got helmets on. The bike hasn't got a license plate on it. and the police car was quite a way behind. There was no flashing lights on the police car, police van, sorry. And then the video, the full video, shows this bike go past, and then there's a gap of quite a good number of seconds, maybe even a minute, I don't know. And then the police van goes past again, very slowly, not overly fast, no lights flashing. The police officer now, though, is being investigated for dangerous driving. What's it called? Dangerous driving. Yeah. Even though the police said no pursuit at the time was on. So it's a bit of a mystery as to what's going on there, but we will find out. Meanwhile, my favourite form of people, which is the junior doctors, we're spoilt brats, we're spoilt brats. We want what we want because we always get what we want because we're spoilt brats. They're still demanding 35% pay rise, and if they don't get it, they're going to keep striking forever because they're spoilt brats. Now, if you're in an industry where you haven't had a proper pay rise, in your opinion, for 10, 15 years, and your wage has gone down, why do you wait until a global recession following a global pandemic to then spit your dummy out? I mean, literally, these people have got no idea what goes on in the real world and how people are struggling. They're on bloody good money. I'm not saying they don't work hard, and I'm not decrying any of the jobs they do. I'm not saying it's a job I could do, but I mean, come on, 35%. I mean, literally, why don't we just send them all off somewhere and we'll just get some people in, because we've got control of our own borders. They'll do the job for the money that we're currently paying. Just import people in. We don't need these people. They are literally spoilt brats. They're not even one up from the Just Stop Oil protesters, as far as I'm concerned. They are risking people's lives. People are dying from cancer because it hasn't been, they've missed their appointment or stuff like that. And all these want is, we want 35%, nah, 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 nah. And now the consultants have decided, which is the grown-up doctors, that they're going to join strikes on the same day. So we're going to have no doctors in the hospitals. So what could possibly go wrong? I mean, why the people are not up in arms about this? Is it just me? I don't know. And you can't say, well, you've been treated badly by the hospitals or whatever. I haven't been in a hospital. I've not seen a doctor since I was 11, and that was a very, very long time ago. Not for myself, anyway. I've not used the NHS in that respect. But I would want an NHS that can afford to exist. And I think a 35% wage increase, if they got it, would mean there'd be less nurses or there'd be less good drugs. So if I ever needed to go in hospital, I'd get a worse service than what I get now. And let's be honest, it's bad enough as it is. But no, absolute nonsense, these people, and they literally are. They're no better than the Just Stop Oil protesters in my eyes. Well, they're probably worse actually, because, like I say, people are dying because of their spoilt brattedness. Meanwhile, the shapeshifter, Grant Shapps, is now the new Defence Minister. It's his 5th ministry in 12 months. I mean, literally, he's done everything. He's had every job, pretty much, in the cabinet, apart from Chancellor and Prime Minister. But there's time yet. Apparently, there's a possibility that there's a no-confidence vote going in for Rishi Sunak. I mean, the Tories just don't know how to just, you know, quit while they're behind. But anyway, what can you do? Wilco's, there are talks going on still to try and save the company. If you don't know Wilco's, it's basically a store that sells toiletries, gardening equipments, and storage boxes and cushions and tats and stuff like that at reasonable prices. It's been going for 90 odd years, and it's in financial difficulties. The only people who are possibly going to be able to buy it is HMV owner from Canada, but why the hell he'd want it, I've no idea. I don't think in his portfolio he's got a shop like that, unless he's just after the sites, because the big shops, maybe he's thinking of expanding the HMV empire into bigger stores, I don't know. It all seems a bit weird that he's involved. It's almost like Mike Ashley of the Fraser Group, as it is now, sports director as it was, just snapping up everyone who's going bust. But anyway, we'll see what comes of that. But there are many thousands of people rightly concerned about their futures, because there's, I think, 12,000 people employed by the company. what I say, we'll just wait and see how that pans out. Hopefully there'll be some good news in the near future, but I fear there won't be, I'll be honest. Meanwhile, where are we? There we go. Technical errors. I'm doing all this myself, you know. We can have a closer look at the concrete that is currently crumbling after, well, longer than it should have been built. Now the irony is, in Wigan, they are knocking down a shopping centre which is only 30 years old, which was technically built in this era, or just after this era, of this concrete being used. And I can tell you, it's not used this concrete, because those muncher machines that they've got, you know, the big like that chomp away, they're struggling to get through the concrete of the galleries. So maybe we shouldn't have knocked the galleries down, which is the shopping centre I'm referring to in Wigan Town Centre, and just converted it to a school and moved all the kids in there. It just seems ridiculous that someone in the past thought that concrete that looks like that with all the holes in it is a good idea compared to you know, like proper concrete. I mean, okay, they're all dead and buried now, so they couldn't care less, and they saved money at the time, but surely it's better to spend a little bit more at the time to therefore increase the length of use of buildings. I mean, even the blinking Romans, there's a lot of their concrete structures that are still standing. But oh no, not in Britain. No, we form our concrete up and then wonder why it's all falling down 30 years later. Meanwhile, Mohammed Al Fayed has passed away, aged 94. He was the ex-son of Harrods and various other people as well. Apparently he died on the Wednesday, but it was only announced on the Friday that he passed away. He was also the son of Dodi Al Fayed, who was the boyfriend of Princess Diana, both of whom, along with the driver, were killed in the car crash in the Paris tunnel, which has now stirred up loads of more conspiracy theorists as to you know, what went on there, where they murdered, blah de blah de blah. I think a line should be drawn under that. We should be worrying about what's going on now and not what went on 25 years ago. Plus you've got to remember that Dodi has got a family, and Diana has got a family as well. Plus obviously you've got Prince William, you've got Prince Harry, and you've got their kids, i.e. her grandkids, who she obviously never met. You know, we don't need to be digging up this again. You know, it just seems a bit pointless. But anyway, Mohammed Al Fayed has passed away, so maybe that will be the end of it in a day or so. Meanwhile, in America, 4 of the Proud Boys, we've got 3 of them here, have been sentenced for the January the 6th riots, which were incited by President Trump. No, I'm not going to say allegedly. They were. It was him. He definitely did it. 10 years, 17 years and 15 years for these 3. I didn't find out what the other one got, but yeah, rightly so. You cannot go against democracy, even if you do, even if you think it's wrong. That's what democracy is about. If people are daft enough to vote in idiots, then that's the people's choice, isn't it? Anyway, TikTok influencer and her mother have been convicted of murder of these 2 young gentlemen. Basically it was not a honey trap necessarily, but they got called to a car park where the car chase ensued, and these 2 drove off at speed, and then they were allegedly rammed off the road, or they crashed off the road. Either way, they both perished, and rightfully the women who organised it all have been sentenced to life imprisonment. I'm not showing their pictures because they're the people who actually committed the crime. These 2 are the victims, and we should remember the victims. Meanwhile, the rail unions, another one of my favourite kind of people at the moment, I don't even use the railway lines, but I just get angry, are striking again. This time it was ASLEF. Them and the RMT have been going on about the fact that they want more money. Well, everyone wants more money, don't they? But also that they don't want ticket offices to close down. Now, if we'd have listened to the railway unions forever, we still have steam trains, and we still have, I don't know, a man walking in front of the train with a red flag. I mean, the whole thing about progress is it's going to happen. And, you know, I might be slightly hypocritical here about saying what I'd say about what's going on in Wigan Town Centre and its alleged redevelopment to improve the town centre. It's not alleged redevelopment. but it's certainly alleged improvement of the town centre. But I do appreciate that something needs to be done and things change. I just don't agree with what they've come up with. With this, it's just a case of, for God's sake, as soon as we can get rid of the drivers from trains, like they do in other countries, and we can get the trains to be fully automated, like they are in many other countries, the better. Because we don't need these people ruining people's days, trying to get to and from work or to and from events or whatever. Again, spoiled brat mentality. Meanwhile, on Saturday, which would be today, more buildings are coming into question about their safety, including other government buildings, such, for example, courthouses, which were built in that era. And that one looks, I wouldn't say similar to Wigan Courthouse, but certainly the badge made out of the brick on the front of it there is very similar. So I don't know whether our courthouse is made out of the same stuff as well. But yeah, it seems like it's a... I'm not saying it was a conspiracy or whatever, but it does seem a bit weird that this crap concrete, that they knew wasn't as good as normal concrete, has been used in all these different buildings. So I think this one's going to roll on and on and on. I think Michael's gone. I think I've bored him. Never mind. RMT, he's probably shocked that I was shocked that he said I was talking sense. The RMT have been on strike today because they're absolute plonkers. And there he is. I want to be adored leader. Mick Lynch, who wants to be an Arthur Scargill, but he's not even an Arthur leader, never mind Arthur Scargill. Absolute waste of space, the lot of them, as far as I'm concerned. And then another thing that's really annoying me, the Indian space race is carrying on, and to me, does it look like they've got some stands there for people to sit on to watch the launch? That would be ridiculous. Or is it just to stop the trees catching fire? Maybe it's that. Anyway, they've launched a rocket to go and look at the sun, to see the weather patterns on the sun, because, why? India's got people starving. The country's got no infrastructure. When COVID hit, they were decimated by it. The people haven't got clean water, yet they're sending things to the moon. They're sending things to space that cost millions and millions and millions of dollars for no reason. It's... Again, I don't understand the logic of it. India should be looking after its people. That's what the government's there for. They're not there to spend money on fanciful things like this shite. It's absolute joke. But oh no, we're going to send all our stuff to India, to space, because we can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that United Kingdom and other countries are actually giving them, as in India, or have been giving them up to recently, money for their people. Yet they're just literally urinating it up a wall by sending stuff to space. I suppose you could say they're urinating it up into space. Anyway, that was the news from the week. However, we've now got the news from America. And American news is always interesting. Although, once again, just to save on time, I've made sure that I am not going to mention gun crime. Even though, obviously, it's America, there is gun crime. But no, we're not going to do it because we're trying to save time, because this thing goes on forever otherwise. So, where are we? There we go. Big bank bonk. Browse. So, in America, what we got going on? This should be in order, but it might not be, so you have to bear with me. No guns, Alan. We're not doing guns. I told you, we're not doing guns anymore. We're not doing guns. I don't like doing guns anymore. We're having a gun-free zone. Mercenary fighters led by Russian intelligence, likely successor for Wagner Group after Prigozhin's death, alleged death. The mercenary fighting force led by Russian military intelligence is likely to fill the void left by the Wagner Group, whose volatile founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, reportedly died in a plane crash last Wednesday, with the group now leaderless. It's all conspiracy, conjecture and all that kind of thing, but we'll see. Alabama to be the first state to execute prisoner using pure nitrogen, setting off a debate on death penalty methods. Luke's very happy about being the first one, doesn't he? Alabama wants to become the first state to execute a prisoner by making him breathe pure nitrogen, which opponents decry as experimenting. I mean, I don't know what the guy's done for the death penalty, but in America it could be jaywalking. I mean, you just don't know, do you? At least he's gone through the judicial system rather than just being shot in the head like pregnant women's in cars. But no, nitrogen seems, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. If I was going to be executed, I don't know what I'd want. I don't think nitrogen would be top of my list, but mind you, I don't think execution would be good either. Hiya Angela, no worries. Record heat recorded in Dallas. As scorching summer continues in the US, as we know, America and Southern Europe and various other parts of the world have been burning to a crisp, whilst we've been part of the world that's been flooding. Another record-setting day for high temperatures hit the Dallas Fort Worth area, before a slight cooling tends to move into the area. Don't worry, Angela, family's more important than anything else. You look after your family. Trump trial date in federal January the 6th case set for March the 4th. We've already kind of mentioned that in passing, so we'll keep going. Everyone's favourite president? No, maybe not. More than 3/4 of US think Biden is too old for a second term. It's not the fact he's too old, it's the fact he's incompetent and incapable of saying a sentence or anything. Yeah, I know, I fluff my words as well. That's because I don't have a script, I don't rehearse. This is all made up from start to finish. I just chat and response to what's going on in the chat. I'm sorry to hear that, Angela. Hopefully there'll be some good news. Mother's Day. So yeah, Trump to be arraigned next week in Georgia election case. From President Donald Trump will be formally arraigned next week on charges that we've already done that, haven't we? Was that a different one? Oh, that might be another one. There's that many bloody charges against Trump. I don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, the Category 3 hurricane that we mentioned before, this was it going in. Do you remember the Canadian teacher who wore prosthetic breasts that were size bazillion? Well, they are back at a new school. The Canadian teacher who sparked controversy after a photo showed her in class wearing Z-size prosthetic breasts last year has landed a new teaching gig, prompting the school to place additional security measures for safety. I mean, come on, if you're employing someone who's been a worldwide sensation for being a fucking idiot as a teacher, and you have to add additional security measures for the safety, then what are you doing by employing someone like that? I mean, that person, no disrespect, you can be who you want to be, whatever, but you cannot walk around dressed like that in a school teaching kids, period. By all means, if you want to wear fake breasts that are more manageable, shall we say, as long as you're not spouting crap about why you're wearing them, then that's fine as well. See ya, Angela, you take care and all that, yeah. Intensifying Idella expected to hit Florida as a major Category 3 hurricane. I think it managed to drop down a bit. Putin orders security services to prepare for a new mutiny after Prigozhin's death, a report says. So basically now Putin's admitted that Prigozhin's dead, and therefore his people, his troops, the Wagner group, will be a bit angry. And there are rumours that they are thinking about going to Moscow and basically causing crap for Putin. But yeah, it's unlikely that that's going to happen because of what's happened to their leader. Judge rejects Sorority Sisters lawsuit blocking trans women from joining. the court will not define a woman. A lawsuit filed by sorority members at the University of Wyoming to block a transgender woman from joining has been dismissed by a judge, despite allegations the student was a sexual predator who got physically aroused around them. Now, again, as I've said before, I have no problem with someone wanting to be trans, as long as they're over the age of 18 and they are not being pushed into it by peer pressure from people around them, and it is their free choice. However, you've got to remember that there are some people who are prepared to go through some discomfort, I'm using the term loosely, in order to be able to access areas for their own sexual gratification. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the tip, no pun intended, of the iceberg for these kind of things. King Charles is planning to axe 20% of the royal household staff in a major shake-up, probably long overdue. He doesn't need different people to wipe his bottom when he's been to the toilet and tie his shoelaces. One person can do both of them jobs, so that's a 50% cut there. A burglar who pets the victim's golden retriever during the bike theft at San Diego home has been arrested. If you remember the video, the dog coming to the garage when there's a guy literally robbing one of the bikes belonging to the family, and then just kind of rolls over and goes, "Go on, give me." So instead of being a guard dog, it's having its tummy tickled and everything. And yeah, it was a cute video, although the circumstances were a little bit bizarre. Anyway, he's been arrested now. Not been charged with anything, he's been arrested. And they assume it's the same person, but they don't know. Gabonese military officers announced they have seized power. We've got a lot of coups going on in Africa, and they're not being reported heavily in the UK media because we're too preoccupied with our own issues. I've been waiting for this for quite a while. Marty Hopkirk, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Randall and Hopkirk, Deceased. Yeah, it's not the best thing I've ever done. But look, there's a picture of you as well. There you go. There's a picture of you there in your white suit. So I hope you're good, Marty, for dead people. I see dead people. I don't see dead people, I talk to dead people. There you go. There he is, Randall and Hopkirk. Hope you're good. But yeah, there's definitely something going on, and I think this has got a lot to do with the oil, and also, not the oil, the metals that are in the ground in Africa, i.e. Lithium, although it's not technically metal. Yeah, it is metal, isn't it? And uranium and all other bits and pieces as well. There's a lot of valuable stuff in the ground in Africa that we need now for our electric cars and everything. Now that's a DVD I approve of. I've been watching the show on TV as well recently. It's on every night, and I watch them, and they are quite entertaining. You're very good in it, Marty. Yeah, I have to say. Although sometimes you're a little bit annoying because you disappear when it's vitally important you're there to save Randall's life. But never mind. It is a comedy show, and that poor woman who died, who you thought you could use because she could see you, she was a bit mad. She got killed with the electric. Anyway, we digress. We're talking about military coups in Africa. Again, not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm pretty sure that there are governments and there are agencies that are desperate to get their hands on all this stuff because we've been brainwashed, not me, but people have been brainwashed into thinking electric cars are the way forward. But the problem is all the metal is in the ground in places like Africa, and it has to be dug up. So who's going to make the money from that? Well, it's not going to be the local people, is it? What's going to happen is you're going to have people getting overthrown, and then another country will come in, and or a private company will be brought in to sort it all out and make all the profits and everything. France apparently has been doing this with uranium in Africa as well, and there's quite a few countries want France out of there, but that's why France is building all these, allegedly, building all these nuclear power stations. But yeah, the whole thing again is massively corrupt. But what do we expect? What do we expect from world leaders, sadly? And you know, they're all as bad as each other. Meanwhile, Putin. Oh no, I've done that one. Oh, I've done that one. I've done that one. Where are we up to? There we are. Is that where we're up to? We've done that one. We've done her. We've done, what's that one? Yeah, we've done that. We've done that. We've done that. Yeah, we're up to that one. There we go. Fort Myers suffers intense flooding as Hurricane Ida is set to slam Florida, fueled by a rare blue moon. As we know, the moon affects the tides. The moon disappeared, the water would flow out of the seas and it would drown everyone. No, it wouldn't. That's absolute nonsense. But yeah, some people believe that. But we've still got the moon anyway, so let's not worry about it. Biden administration announces additional $250 million in Ukraine aid. As I said earlier, the M1 tanks are pretty much ready to go, which is super cool, and hopefully they will make a difference. Now this was actually off Sky News, however, it's to do with America, and that is doctor shares startling reminder that guns are leading cause of death for children and teens in the US. An analysis of the UK Centres for Disease Control published last week showed guns remained the leading cause of death amongst children in the United States in 2021. Like we didn't know that. Someone's setting off fireworks, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, most of their citizens have been living in poverty for decades, no surprise they want a change of leadership. Absolutely, Marty. It's unusual, we're having a conversation with, I speak to dead people. We're having a conversation with dead people. But no, you're right. There's a lot of countries. I've just been saying, you didn't join us when I was talking about India and the fact they've sent a rocket up to look at the weather on the sun. When there's people in India don't have running water, don't have sanitary conditions, don't have a hospital nearby that's actually worth going to, don't have infrastructure, don't have roads, but they're still sending stuff to the moon and to the sun. It's just ridiculous. I don't know what is going on with the politicians and where their minds are at. You're there for the people of your country, and if you're not, then you don't deserve to be there anymore. 5 million angry bees fall off a truck in Canada. It's one way to create some buzz. Boxers holding 5 million bees fell off a truck in Canada, causing a sticky situation for a group of local beekeepers who flew into action, collecting the buzzy insects off the road. Yeah, they're not going to be angry. Bees don't have the facility to be angry. They will just be more trying to figure out how to survive and not die. They're not angry. Don't be stupid. I was on the cruise ship that collided with an oil tanker, bawling my eyes out. Passenger aboard the P&O cruise ship that collided with an oil tanker off the coast of Spain are sharing chilling stories of being whipped into a state of hysteria, with one describing it as panic stations. The Britannia has a capacity to carry 3,647 passengers. I mean, why is it 3,647 passengers? I mean, surely to God, if they'd have took some in the region of 3 centimetres out of each cabin, no one would notice, they could have probably got it to 3,700. Or make the cabins 3 centimetres more and have it at 3,500 or 3,600. Stupid number, 3,647. P&O, you deserve to be. It was close to capacity when a storm came brewing off the coast of Palma de Mallorca, gale force winds, and it collided with an oil tanker. Now we say collided, obviously these are both big vehicles, but it was more of a love tap. Not that you can have a love tap with something that size. Emotional Prince Harry reveals what Archie wants to be when he grows up. Adopted, I would have thought. Prince Harry's 4-year-old son Archie already has his future mapped out ahead of him. When I talk to my son Archie about what he wants to do when he grows up, some days it's an astronaut, other days it's a pilot. Yeah, that's because he's scared of saying, I want to be adopted. So I don't have to put up with the bull that you and Mum come out with all the time. Plane crash that killed Prinskin may have been deliberate, Kremlin says. No poo Sherlock. Of course it was deliberate to hide the fact you'd already killed him. Allegedly. No. A child rapist who escaped Arkansas prison on a jet ski is captured at a Quality Inn with his family. A convicted child rapist who dramatically escaped an Arkansas prison on a jet ski has been captured a year later. along with the family members accused of opening fire to help him flee. Now, don't call me, old-fashioned or anything, maybe I'm not trendy, but why is there a jet ski in a prison? And I mean, I've heard of people digging tunnels using a spoon, Great Escape and all that, and I've heard of people making rafts and things, but to make a jet ski, I mean, that's impressive. Anyway, the scumbag has been caught. Hurricane Ida makes landfall in Florida. Hurricane Ida made landfall in Florida as a dangerous Category 3 hurricane, promised to unleash life-threatening storm surges, damaging winds and copious amounts of rain upon millions of Sunshine State residents, which has strengthened significantly in the past 24 hours, or the previous 24 hours, have briefly been categorised as a Category 4 storm before winds tapered off to a relentless minor 125 mile an hour. So yeah, it's nice living in states that are lovely, but there's always a cost to pay, isn't there? It's usually the weather. North Korea says it stimulated nuclear attack in South Korea and rehearsed occupations of its rival. Yeah, because Kim Jong-un is a sensible guy. North Korea said on Thursday its latest missile launch has simulated scorched earth nuclear strikes on South Korea, and that it's also been rehearsing an occupation of its rival's territory in the event of conflict. Pyongyang has previously tested nuclear capability missiles and described how it would use them in potential wars with South Korea and the US. Yeah, the guy's a loon. He's literally, his rockets are literally one up from the ones you buy from the supermarket on Bonfire Night, or 4th of July if you're in America. A teen found dead trying to live off the grid with mum weighed only 40 pounds. A teenage boy whose body was found in the Colorado wilderness after he tried to survive off the grid along with his aunt and his mother weighed just 40 pounds at the time of his death, according to a newly released autopsy report. The unidentified 14-year-old died alongside his mother, Rebecca Vance, and his aunt, Christine Vance, 41, sometime after the trio decided to abandon civilization. Now, you remember I did report on this when he went missing. What we didn't know is the unidentified boy, I mean, the poor lad's dead, so why they're not identifying him, I don't know, particularly if they're identifying his mother. I mean, come on. But no, shocking story of people thinking, we're not designed for this anymore. We're not designed to go off grid. We're too comfortable. We're too crap at looking for things. We've kind of evolved into uselessness, and it's getting worse with all this woke crap going on as well. A ranger who rammed car through Burning Man protest under review for pulling weapon. The Nevada Tribal Reservations ranger who rammed his truck through a blockade and pulled a weapon on unarmed demonstrators outside the Burning Man festival was under review by officials after climate protesters accused him of using excessive force. The incident happened at the Pyramid Lake Plaid Tribe Reservation, where a handful of activists basically blocked the road. So they're basically like Just Stop Oil protests. And as far as I'm concerned, he got his gun out. He didn't use his gun, but I have no problem with that. Just Stop Oil protesters are equivalent. They don't deserve any human rights. Australian cops accused of falsely identifying as non-binary to get high clothing allowance. Like what? Police officers in Australia have been accused of falsely registering as non-binary as part of a scheme to claim a higher clothing allowance from their department. At least 17 officers from the Victorian Police have been interviewed in the force's investigation of the alleged scheme. So basically, yeah, they've figured out that if you're male or female, you get such an allowance, but if you're non-binary, you get more, so you get more stuff. So they've said the non-binary, but if you identify as non-binary, surely that's it, isn't it? You can't have it one way and then change the rules. I mean, I don't agree with it necessarily, but if that's what the rule is, that's what the rule is. Identify as a penguin. No, I don't. I don't like fish. Well, I do like fish, but not raw. Russia demands Norway pay up to $4.4 million, which is weird, bearing in mind it's Russia and Norway, after 42 caribou crossed the border. Russia has demanded that Norway fork out over $4.4 million in repairs because dozens of reindeer trotted across the border and munched grass in one of its national parks. At least 42 of the Arctic animals hoofed it through a dilapidated fence and onto the Russian side of the frosty Pvix Nature Reserve. I mean, absolute twaddle. I'm sorry. I know the Russians are, a bit brain dead, but I mean, is that how desperate they are for money for this war that they're going to actually charge caribou for going on their land? Why conspiracy theorists question Yonogi's president's death? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do question Yonogi's president's death. A newly released video, right? He died last Wednesday. Newly released video of Russian mercenary Yevgeny Prigozhin has fueled speculation amongst conspiracy theorists, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, that the billionaire warlord is still alive and was not aboard the private jet that crashed north of Moscow after an apparent explosion last week. Prigozhin, 62, was confirmed to be among the 7 Wagner Group fighters and 3 crew members killed in the crash. The Russian authorities claim that they found DNA. Now, yeah, I've got different theories on that, but I kind of see where they're coming from, in a weird way. Meanwhile, UK police think they've flushed out the looters who stole a $6 million gold toilet. UK cops thinks they flushed out who stole a valuable palace throne, a fully functioning gold toilet named America that's worth $6 million. The 18-carat potty, once displayed at New York's Guggenheim Museum, made a splash when it was swiped nearly 4 years ago from Winston Churchill's childhood home, Blenheim Palace. Now police have arrested 7 suspected, wait for it, looters. I thank you. We'll quit while we're ahead. Meanwhile, West Point time capsule that only appeared to contain only dust turns out to have hidden centuries-old coins in the dust. A nearly 200-year-old West Point time capsule that appeared to yield little more than dust when it was opened during a disappointing live stream contained hidden treasure after all. The US Military Academy said it was just more hidden than expected. The lead box, believed to have been placed by cadets in the base of a monument, actually contained 6 silver coins. What, they had an air base 200 years ago? What? How does that work? Everything's okay, Prigozhin talks assassination attempts in new released video fueling rumours he's alive. A new release video shows Wagner Group boss Yevgeny Prigozhin bragging about surviving assassination attempts, further fueling conspiracies that the Russian warlord may still be alive. The footage was released on Telegram channels linked to a Prigozhin mercenary group a week after he is understood to have died in a fiery plane crash. Yeah, is he dead? Is he alive? Dead or alive? It's like Dora the Explorer. Should I go left or right? No, is Prigozhin dead or alive? Dead or alive? Well, we know Marty Otker's dead, but is he alive? New sighting of Loch Ness Monster captured in most exciting photos ever. Yeah. A sighting of the Loch Ness Monster captured in photos are being called the most exciting ever by those on the hunt for the mythical creature. The photos, which show a serpent-like animal with its body on the surface of the loch, were actually taken in 2018, but photographer Kai Kelly kept them to herself in fear of public ridicule. Damn right, love. However, now that there's a large ongoing search for the water beast, she's decided to cash in on her picture of some rocks. Wonderful. You've got to love them, haven't you? The Loch Ness Monster. There's more about Loch Ness Monster, it's just ridiculous. Pentagon launches new website for declassified UFO information. So basically, they're launching a website that will show everyone that UFOs don't exist. Now, whether they do or not is irrelevant because they don't. But yeah, yeah, absolute. They're not going to release documents that prove that they exist, are they? because they don't. Chinese illegal migrant numbers boom under Biden as Beijing tensions grow. The number of Chinese migrants attempting to illegally cross into the US has surged since President Biden took office, alarming congressional Republicans as Beijing makes increasingly audacious moves to spy on Americans. So now they're saying, are these people spies? A bit like I said last week about the migrants coming over on the boats, or maybe I said in the paper, I said in the paper definitely, maybe I said it as well. These migrants coming over on the boats who have got no documents, we don't know who they are. They might be nice people, they might be genuine people. They might be rapists, they might be paedophiles, they might be terrorists, they might be secret agents, spies, they might be thieves, they could be anyone. So why the hell are we putting them up in hotels and letting them wander freely in our society? We should put them into a contained area, i.e. a disused prison or something like that, don't care about the conditions, and then process them. But I wouldn't even do that. I would just send them straight back to France. No messing. You've come over from France, you've got no documents with you. If I was fleeing the UK to go to France, legitimately, I would keep the documents on my person. I would even put some cling film so they were on my body. So if I was unfortunate enough to, drown, when they found the body, they would have my documents still attached to them. That'd be the theory. It'd probably wash off, to be fair. But I mean, you'd look after your documents because you want to get processed quickly. These people are illegal. And it's happening in America as well. They don't know who these people are. It's just a joke. But no one's laughing. Except, of course, for the people who are paying for all this. Wagner's gold flag flies over the plane crash site, which has been tidied up rather well, don't you think? At the site of the plane crash, which killed Russia's most powerful mercenary 9 days ago, maybe, a black Wagner flag flies beside a mound of rocks surrounded by flowers. But all the debris of the private jet has been cleared. Yeah, everything's just gone. So, I mean, it just seems totally legit, doesn't it? It just seems like, yeah, he died on that plane. It's terrible. No, there's something going on. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Loch Ness Monster was photographed for a second time in less than a week. Well, I've always said that I would only believe in the Loch Ness Monster if I saw a photograph that proved it. And here we go. The legendary Loch Ness Monster was reportedly spotted for a second person in the same week. A shutterbug snapped what have been hailed as the most exciting ever. Photos of it, young Charlotte Robinson, a 12-year-old from Leeds in the UK, had already reported seeing the monster on August the 17th, 2018 from about 50 foot away, with her claim recorded in Believer's official sightings register. Yeah, absolute BS. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to be famous. Oh. No, you're just going to be ridiculed because you're talking crap. Brita filter packaging misleads consumers. Class action lawsuit claims. You know what? I actually bought a Brita filter thing years ago. I mean, we're talking when it wasn't cool. I bought one because I drink a lot of water. Okay, this is water. Might have an added ingredient. Or 10. But it's still water. No, I do drink a lot of just water. But I buy bottled water. And now. Because those things, I think, are not that environmentally friendly. You have to buy these cartridges, which are just full of God knows what. These pellets. And then you have to filter it. You've got this jug thing made out of plastic. The thing you put the filter in is made out of plastic. Everything's made out of plastic. The lid's made out of plastic. If you knock it, it cracks the jug. It's just, this is years ago. I said I'm never ever going to get one of these again, and I never have. And there you go. A California man is people still talking, or am I missing? No one's talking. That's okay then. Yeah, so absolute nonsense. And they're even advertising on the radio and stuff that it's saving the environment. It's saving it, but it's not saving the environment. I mean, the plastics that are in the bottles, I recycle them. Whereas those, you can't recycle the plastic for that. So it's absolute nonsense. Brita's there. So hopefully they get shut down. Drone strike set fire to Russian factory making microchips for missiles. A drone strike set on fire a Russian factory that churns out microchips used in the production of missiles on the outskirts of Moscow. Ukraine's military intelligence have claimed. Now, I always say, with anything like this, if it's the US, the UK, Ukraine, or any other ally of Ukraine saying something, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. It's called propaganda. If the Russians say it, instead of a pinch of salt, you have a truck of salt. If the Chinese say it, anything, you take that with a salt mine. So, I dare say that is a factory that's on fire. Whether it's an actual factory that makes the microchips for Russian missiles, no idea. You can't prove it one way or the other. You can't see where that picture's been taken. It could be a building in Ukraine that's been hit by Russians, and they've just took a picture of it and said, no, it's us. You know, it's a pinch of salt, but still interesting, and hopefully it is true. Don't believe everything you hear. NASA spacecraft around the moon spots likely crash site of Russians' lost lunar lander. Yeah, it was hilarious that last week. Apart from the fact, of course, that they're spending millions of rubles on something when there are people in their country starving as well, as we know. But anyway. Feline herself, a lioness, grabs a GoPro camera and shoots wild selfie video in Kenya. Now, I don't know how it's grabbed it. I can only assume it's grabbed it telepathically, maybe a tractor beam or something similar. The picture at the top left shows that the GoPro camera is on a stick, but the lion hasn't got a stick. But it's definitely a good picture. You've got to say, they are pretty good. Remember them monkeys a few years ago that posed as well, even did kind of things. Okay, maybe not that. And then remember that bear that waved to people? There was a man in a... No, that wasn't either, was it? Anyway, either way, hilarious and fantastic. And I've not watched the footage, I'll be honest with you, I need to, but I won't. Kremlin kept Prigozhin's funeral a secret to deny him a hero status after the mutiny. No! Kremlin kept Prigozhin's funeral a secret because he's not dead, or if he is dead, he didn't die in a plane crash. Because absolute nonsense that Russia's coming out with at the minute. Is he dead? Is he not dead? Is he dead? Is he alive? Remember, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's definitely something going on. You know, will he turn up in the Big Brother house on ITV2 later on this year? Or will he be on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here? Because that's probably what he's saying at the moment, to be fair. Assuming he's alive. But no, I think they killed him weeks ago and they've just made up this plane crash to cover the tracks. Hawaii investigates unsolicited land offers in the state, tries to keep Lahaina in local hands. Now, conspiracy theorists, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but conspiracy theorists said that the fires were started deliberately, or maybe not started deliberately, but were encouraged, shall we say, by the rich elite, for whose houses were not touched by the fire because the fire went away from the houses. But that was the wind direction. I'm pretty sure they don't have a direct line to God. One of them is the bitch, Oprah Winfrey, who I detest. I never liked her, but when she did that Harry and Meghan thing, I thought you've lost any credibility you had. Has gone out the window because you're an absolute fake. Anyway, she lives on Hawaii, or she's got a house in Hawaii, and she's been apparently trying to buy land off people, and they've all said no, it's our, it's our fatherland and all this kind of stuff, and it's our ancestors, and it's all this kind of thing. Now it's been scorched to nothingness. They're trying to buy the land again. So you're, it sounds like a land grab, and maybe they just took advantage of the situation, maybe not. It's only allegedly, but it does seem very corrupt, and yeah, don't trust any of them. This is a superb story. This should really be in the and finally section, but it's reported in America. An alleged drunk driver arrested after he unwittingly called 911 on himself, quote, like a dunk. No good deed goes unpunished. An alleged drunk driver unwittingly handed himself over to Nebraska police when he reported someone else travelling in the wrong direction. As it turned out, he was the culprit. Hilarious video shows shared by the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office captured the bizarre incidents that unfolded. The man told dispatchers that someone was driving a truck on the wrong side of the road. Turned out the truck was on the right side of the road. It was him who was on the wrong side of the road, and the cops nabbed him. I mean, yeah, only in America. No one was shot in it either, because no guns in this episode. Meanwhile, Russia puts nuclear-capable superweapon Statin 2 missiles on combat duty. Russia announced yesterday it had put its nuclear-capable Satan 2 intercontinental ballistic missiles on combat duty for the first time. The missile, also known as the Sarmat and classified as a superweapon by Russia, was introduced in... That means nothing, doesn't it? A superweapon by Russia, yeah. Was introduced in 2018 and had been scheduled to deployed for combat duty at the end of 2022. The Sarmat strategy complex has been put into combat duty, Yuri Brosnov, the head of Russian defence, has said. So a year late, it's up and running. But again, I wouldn't necessarily hold your breath, and I think you'll be able to sleep peacefully tonight because it's made in Russia, so it probably won't work. And that is it for the American news, but it's alright because we've got Australia now. Got a sport. What's going on in Australia? I'll tell you what's going on in Australia. There's a lot of stuff going on in Australia, except there isn't. It's quite a quiet week again. The Australian news people seem to have got a bit quiet at the moment, but we'll take what we get. In a rare occurrence, Melbourne twin sisters give birth on the same day in the same hospital. The doctors who delivered both babies said the newborns' cousins are genetically more like brothers. I'm sure I've already done that one. Anyway, I haven't done this one, so we'll go with this one. That's quite a big explosion, actually. Let's shrink that down a little bit because that's a bit too big. There you go. Sorry, it was too big. You couldn't see how big it was. Duck, here comes a boomerang. Terrifying footage shows two monstrous explosions at a fueling station in Romania, killing at least 2 people and injuring more than 50. It was just an accident, but yeah, absolutely horrendous. And in Romania, I only found it reported in Australia, obviously. Should New Zealand become a state of Australia? No. This is your say, apparently. Should New Zealand become a state of Australia? There are fresh calls for the two nations to join forces, with Shadow Cabinet Minister Barnaby Joyce voicing his support for the motion. A retiring New Zealand MP also supporting the unification, noting the economic benefits of the island nation becoming Australia's 7th state. Or alternatively, you could just do free trade agreements. Just put it out there. I mean, Jesus. Good picture of someone with a whale caught on their little boat. Not the whale, the photograph was taken on their little boat of the whale breaching. Quite impressive. It's actually a video, but obviously I can only show you a still. Meanwhile, in America, a group of US hunters have captured the longest alligator ever to be recorded in Mississippi, weighing in at a whopping 364 kilograms and measuring 4.3 meters long. Now, my big question is, why the hell are they killing these animals? They have every right to be there. That thing is obviously not a baby. It's an old beast. It's been around for a long while. And these smug bastards are there having killed it. I mean, oh yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of you guys. It's massive. Unlike Burger King, who are facing legal action over their burger size. Which is unsurprising, really, because let's be honest, I've said many times, when I do a Burger King burger review, the one thing I always say is it as big as me head? I don't think that even is a Burger King burger, to be fair. That is not a Whopper. Because that looks actually alright. It doesn't look massive, but that looks like a nice burger. That's definitely not a Whopper. Anyway, yeah, there was that thing as well, wasn't there, where they had people with little hands holding the burgers and eating the burgers. I think Donald Trump did it once. But yeah, the Whopper is not massive, and that's why I was joking. It's as big as my head, and it's not. It's about that big on my head. Whereas a Whopper should be like that big. But then I triple or quadruple and whatever them up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Collectible coins. I do like collectible coins. Available from September the 6th, the new $5 American coin. A rare $5 coin will be released in Australia next week. The collector's coin features images of the nation's 20 sites on the World Heritage List. They must be tiny though, because I could only see a swirly picture that looks like one of them things when you were a kid, if you're of a certain age, where you had like a piece of paper and you squirted some paint on it, and then you pressed a button and the paper span round and you got these pretty pictures of it, well, pretty images and all that. That's what it looks like to me. Meanwhile, the MH370, you remember the plane that disappeared years ago? A new bombshell report claims to have uncovered the missing Malaysia Airlines flight 370 location, which could be just 1,500 kilometres from Perth. The report, led by British academics, made the discovery with a groundbreaking new method, providing a fresh lead for nearly a decade-long search. No, that is not nearly 10 years ago. No. I'll go 5. Well, I'm not saying that is not 10 years ago. That was not 10 years ago when that plane went missing. I am not having that. That is not 10 years ago. It can't be. Jesus Christ, was that 10 years ago? Well, he's dead. I can't ask you. He was made up anyway, but he never even existed. But it can't be 10 years ago. Can it? Oh, I've got myself thinking now. That's never good. Don't think. Just move on. Meanwhile, Mini Biscotti, the Nickelodeon Paw Patrol biscuits, have been recalled because there is a QR code or something similar on there that takes you to a explicit website, which is perfect for little kiddies with their Paw Patrol things. The other is it takes you to a website for Paw Patrol, but no, it takes you to a very explicit adult website. Time goes fast after 40. 2014. 2014! Hi Jay Morris. You missed America, but we didn't do any guns. I've dropped the gun section for the time being, which is why you missed America, because we rattled through it dead quick. And Kim, yeah, welcome. 2014, oh my god. God, that's awful. That's awful. And then, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but mullets are back. And I'm like, mullets were crap in the 80s. I never had a mullet as such, I just had long hair. But, not overly long, it wasn't like shoulder length or anything, it was like over my ears. But I don't like people touching me. For any reason whatsoever, it's amazing. I'm a dad and a granddad. Not that anything to do with the granddad bit, apart from just not dying. March the 8th, 2014, so it's 10 years next March. Jesus Christ. That's insane. Anyway, yeah, mullets, they're back. And this woman has the world record for having the longest mullet. It just looks crap. They always look crap. There was a kid in the shop today, who I'm sure was a wonderful child, but he had a mullet, and it just looked like, what the hell is going on? Why have people gone back to the mullet? They were rubbish back then. Proper one. Like a proper 80s one it was. Unbelievable. Anyway, finally. So this is the stuff that's made me smile, made me actually LOL, or have made me go wow, or has made me go, So we'll see which is which, shall we? Now, if you remember a few weeks ago, we looked at the man who had spent a lot of money on becoming a dog. Basically, a very expensive dog costume. As you can see, it looks like a real dog. Because it's made from the skin of a real dog. No, it's not really. It could be, but it's not. Which I don't think it is. But a bloke who splashed out about 12.5 grand on a lifelike dog costume so that he can live out his dream of being an animal says he's been inundated with positive comments. I can imagine he's been inundated with unpositive comments as well, but always look on the positive side. And even has some fans wanting to copy his look. Yep. Won't be me though. Started out at 12.5 grand, and if I did, I wouldn't spend on anything like that. Cabin crew dance and pose for selfies on a Boeing 777 wing in a life-threatening stunt. Well, the plane wasn't actually in the air at the time, the engines were not turned on, and it wasn't windy. So I'm not exactly sure where the life-threatening stunt was, but a Swiss International Airlines cabin crew member has been warned for their life-threatening stunt where they danced on the wing of a Boeing 777 with a company head left angry and disappointed. You've got to be one or the other. I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Or I'm really angry. You're not angry and disappointed. That's so Swiss, isn't it? Fred Dibner, local hero, passed away a few years ago. Didn't believe in health and safety crap and all that kind of stuff. He said if you fall off, it's your own fault. So he literally would climb on tops of things with very little safety equipment, and yeah, he'd stay up there all day. Even peed off the top of them sometimes because he wasn't climbing all the way down to go to the toilet. Yeah, true local hero. Pensioners fuming as plague of giant slugs invade home and ruin family dinners. Sorry. It's not funny. It's definitely not funny. Rose Alexandra, 67, she doesn't look very happy, says a plague of giant slugs have been invading her home for months, leaving her anxious and depressed. The creatures even ruined her Christmas last year. Well, there you go then. So they ruined Christmas dinner. What did they do? Did they eat all the lettuce? I mean, if you're eating your dinner and a slug gets on your plate, I mean, let's be honest. They're not the quickest things in the world, are they? Unless they come in like... they could be like Tom Cruise. They could drop in from the ceiling. Or dum 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 dum. Your dinner's ruined. Anyway, it's mad. Banksy, I love Banksy. Not in a dirty way, and the fact that I like his humour. I went to see his exhibition. If you have not seen it yet, check out the bus playlist, the bus playlist, BUS playlist, and you'll see the Banksy. And I went to see the exhibition, which is touring the world. It was in Salford, so I went to have a look at it. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant. But yeah, it's a seal with a bricked up window. Ovs. Another Banksy. I think you have to be at the right angle for this one. But it's one of them tank blocker things. There's probably a technical term for them, but we'll call them a tank stopper. And if you sit I'll look at it from a certain angle, it looks like kids on a seesaw. Meanwhile, John Lennon, no, John Lennon, Sir Elton John, I forgot about this story, I'm sorry. A woman spots Sir Elton John wearing his famous glasses in bird poo splodged on a window. Peterborough native and idiot Nicola Colgate was adamant, no, she's Nicola Colgate, adamant was the lead singer of Adam and the Ants, that she spotted Sir Elton John in a splodge of bird poo outside of her bathroom window. And her friends agreed. No, they went, yeah, that's definitely Elton John. Yeah. I mean, that isn't the bird poo, by the way. That's an actual picture of Elton John. Just in case you're thinking, actually, that's fucking good, that. No. This is the bird poo. I mean, yes. Does this look like Elton John? The answer you're looking for is, does it? No. I think I look more like Elton John. I think the poos I do in the toilet look more like Elton John than that thing. But anyway, yeah, my friends agreed with her. Yeah, Mavis. Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Aliens took my sperm in sex experiments. Now I wonder if I have kids in space. No. A bloke believes he was abducted by extraterrestrials for sexual experiments, and he might have alien kids somewhere out in space. No. What you need to do is seek out some psychiatric help. A time traveller from 2671 claims global power outage will spark the real purge. Eno Alric, who claims to be a real-life time traveller for 2671, has claimed there will be a worldwide power outage in October 2023, which will lead to increased crime like scenes from a purge film. Yes, people are getting publicity for this. To be fair, I'm not helping because I'm showing it as well, but only to ridicule them. See-through 4-foot alien photographed walking down a river near a UFO portal. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's a photograph of a see-through alien. I mean, I'll let you into a little secret. For this entire broadcast, that alien has been sat on the desk in front of me. I know. Look. It's a photograph of a see-through 4-foot alien. I mean, for fuck's sake, what are we coming to? Literally, what is the world coming to? I mean, we've got fucking idiots leading our countries. We've got someone from a higher place. I don't mean God, I mean higher than politicians. Starting to mix up everyone so that we become more controllable. And now we've got people taking pictures of invisible aliens with a camera. Ramblers were left shocked after spotting a long-limbed grey alien on a stroll near the river in Bolivia, and experts say the area is plagued with interdimensional portals. I say it's plagued with stuff that smells like stuff that comes out of the back end of bulls. Ancient beast older than the USA with a 500-year-old lifespan still stalks the world today. And I must admit, I was a bit sceptical, but you look at that thing and you think, you know what, that could be 5,000 years old. I mean, the pain in its eyes, what it's seen that we're doing to the planet. An ancient shark older than the US is still roaming the oceans to this day, with one key feature on its face that never changes, giving away its true age. Yeah, we'll never know what that is because I couldn't be arsed scrolling and having a look. Sorry. Loch Ness monster hunters hear gloop noises in search but make a crucial mistake. Now remember, the Loch Ness monster, for some reason, I think tourism has died off in Loch Ness. So the tourist board has decided, let's make Loch Ness a thing again. And it's working because I've talked about it 3 times now. The new search for the ancient mythical and not their beast in the loch in Scotland has proved to be a bit of a mess after experts forgot to record sounds they heard. So they heard the sounds but didn't record them. And then it says they may have just been ducks. I mean, I think they're stupid, something that rhymes with ducks, if you ask me. But anyway, keeps them happy, keeps them off the streets, keeps them on the water instead. Elon Musk's dad says he was asked to donate sperm as the man who created Elon. Well, that's unlikely, isn't it? Errol Musk, who is 77 years old, claims a company in Colombia approached him and asked him to donate his sperm in order to impregnate high-class Colombian women. Yeah, I think even if Elon Musk has got a brother or sister, they may not be as insane as he is. They may be actually quite sane. They might be quite intelligent as well. Elon Musk is one of those people who surrounds himself by people who makes him look good. But when it strip it right down, he's as thick as pig shit. The last thing we need is more Elon Musks on the planet. But unless Mr. Errol Musk impregnates Elon Musk's mother, which is probably unlikely, if he's 77, she's probably going to be a bit past the age of having babies, then you've got no chance anyway. Because how many people do you know who've got the same father but different mothers are exactly the same? Absolute nonsense. And plus, why would we want more Elon Musk? Maybe Columbia wants to self-destruct on itself. Talking of self-destructing, although it wasn't, it was Lando Norris who did this. Hi T, you like this bit. Lando Norris has come second in a couple of Formula 1 Grand Prix recently and has broke two, not one, but two of Max Verstappen's winning trophies. The last one being at Hungary, where when they get the champagne, he bangs it on the top podium, so it spurts out all the bubbles and everything, so you can spray it and it goes further. But sadly, he's done that twice, and the podiums are not that well made, and the pot urn that Max Verstappen had won fell over and smashed into many pieces. Well, fear not, it has a happy ending. The Hungarian first place trophy has been fixed or replaced, and very happy Max Verstappen and Lando Norris are posing with it. Bear in mind that they are busy mates and they live next door to each other in Monaco, and have probably seen each other's. But anyway, yeah, happy ending to a happy story. And then we go back to Banksy. Now this is genius. I'm pretty sure that these ducks, these chicks, are duck chicks called ducklings. Ducklings are real ducklings, i.e. alive. But either way, it's still an interesting photograph. I haven't got ODC or anything, but the floor and the wallpaper and the dripping is irritating me. But everything else is hilarious on this. Basically, it's a toilet duck container with some ducklings following it. But yeah, you see what I mean about the wallpaper. It's not wallpaper, it's spray paint. It's just annoying because it's everywhere. It's just doing my head in, so I can't look at that any longer. Health and safety, very important when you're in the building trade, unless of course there isn't any in the country you're in. But again, genius. They've lowered a skip there so that they can do some work. And I'll be honest with you, that skip is not going anywhere anytime soon. That is well and truly wedged in. So remember last week we had a look at a pair of ladders which were up against the wall very high up, with another pair of ladders roped across with a guy stood on that pair of ladders, so imagine a H, doing some work. And the person who took the picture saying he's already dialed 911, ready to dial the last one for the hospital, for the ambulance to come and pick up the body or whatever. We never found out whether he actually managed to get away with it or not. Thought this car had a Chavi, bad boy spoiler, but it turns out it's just the bin. Again, it's all to do with angles, but that does look like a Chavi bad boy spoiler. To be fair, it's probably the guy's car. He just thought he'd take a picture and be clever, but I'll give him that one. It's actually a decent picture. Then we've got this sign: please do not eat in the library. The ants will get in, they will learn how to read, then they will get too smart. Knowledge is power. Power corrupts, so the ants will turn evil and take over the world. So, do not eat in the library. You have been warned. Now, this is disappointing if you thought that Interstellar was filmed interstellarly. In the movie Interstellar, the water planet scenes were shot on Earth. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but when they were in the water was actually on Earth. It just made it look like it was in space. I saw aliens speaking odd language at Burning Man when I was stone cold sober. Yeah, probably a bit of that and a bit of that though. A woman claims to have once witnessed real aliens attending Burning Man describing the extraterrestrial beings as having triangular heads like a praying mantis. Yet no one else spotted them. Unbelievable. It's amazing what LSD can do, isn't it? Allegedly. Unsolved mystery of devil's hoof prints that stretched miles across Devon. When deep snow fell overnight on February the 8th in 1855, Devon locals awoke to find an unbroken line of footprints stretching nearly 100 miles across the country, inspiring great mystery. And it's only just been reported in the Daily Star this week, and there's a photograph to prove it from 1855 in full 4K HD. Seems legit. Loch Ness Monster captured on thermal image drone in first ever footage. Well, this is the fourth time we've talked about it. How's this the first ever footage when you bear in mind the footage that's... Oh yeah, because it doesn't exist, so there's no footage. This isn't first ever footage either. It's a duck or a swan or something on the lake. Sorry, loch. Dragonfly Films project producer Tim Whittard claims his team used thermal image drone tech to scour Loch Ness at night and found a heat signature they believe is Nessie. Yeah. They filmed it from 500 miles away and couldn't get any closer. So yeah, I'm convinced that's Nessie. Because let's be honest, it's thermal imaging. Now, Nessie, one would assume, would be a reptile or a fish, which are cold-blooded. And they live in Loch Ness. They don't exist, but they live in Loch Ness. Just bear with me. They live in Loch Ness, which is fucking freezing, even in the summer. Not that it's been that hot anyway this summer. Not here anyway, in the UK and Scotland. So, I cry BS yet again. You're going to have a dead Wagner boss, seen in new video as conspiracy theories grow. Wagner boss, was killed in a plane crash last week, 2 months after he tried to bring a coup to Moscow. But now a new video appearing to show the military man alive has fueled conspiracy theories. They're not conspiracy theories, but yeah. Meanwhile, a man enters 70th... sorry. This is a news thump. This is pretend news. Man enters 17th minute on pasta aisle in attempt to avoid supermarket chit-chat with acquaintance. I'm sure we've all done this. Someone we don't really know, we don't really care about, we don't want to talk to. They're in the aisle that we want to be in. So we go to a different aisle and wait for them to come out of the aisle that we want to be in so we can pick up our Guinness or whatever. Yep, we've all done it. I'll my hands up, I've done it loads of times. But yeah, man enters 17th minute on pasta aisle in attempt to avoid supermarket chit-chat. Yep, we've all done that. And if you haven't done it, you're a liar. Mulder and Scully from X-Files. This is genius. Did you know that if you swap their faces, they look like this? I mean, this is amazing. If you face swap Mulder and Scully, they look like a great synth pop band from the 80s. And by God, they do. Looks like a crap Yazoo, I'll be honest with you. Whoever's done that, absolute genius. And then this. Who's responsible for this? Posters have appeared around London with Rishi Sunak being ridiculed in a Barbie kind of environment, and lots of stuff about his policies and all that. The thing is, these posters are inside the glass, they're not stuck on the glass. Because if you've ever been at a bus stop, if you've ever driven past a bus stop or ever seen a bus stop that's been vandalised or being worked on, you'll know that the things lift up and they put the posters inside and then they put it back down again and lock it and all that. Well, all these posters are inside the glass, so someone's had to go around and take them all down again. But yeah, genius. And finally, if you're still with us, Alan, you're going to like this one. Not a lot. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to move this down to there, and then I'm going to swap the picture over, because this is amazing. It's out of character, I have to say, for the driver, but we'll go with it. So, you ready? It's a parking car park, and they've put a special BMW parking space in there because that's how drivers of dark coloured BMWs park, i.e. like absolute pricks. So they've actually put in a BMW parking space, and that is genius. I love that. I don't care if it's AI, it is just genius. It kind of basically says everything about I say about people who drive dark coloured BMWs. But wait, you know it's there. It says, oh, hang on, I'm not expanding myself. Anyway, missus. Says wrong. I'm not expanding myself. No, it gets better. It does get better. Because, if you notice there, it says, shots fired. So who gets the last laugh? It's the BMW driver. Dum, 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 dum. Love it. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. I mean, that is... It's a white coloured beamer, so obviously they've done it for fun. And they wouldn't leave it there, for a long period of time, because it's a white coloured beamer. It's only like the dark blue ones, or the dark grey ones, or the metallic ones that would do that deliberately. But no, I think that is beyond genius. It's absolutely amazing. Whoever's thought of that, I'm going to give you a very quiet applause. I can't clap loudly because it echoes. But yeah, that is absolute 2 thumbs up genius. And, like I say, possibly the funniest thing I've seen this week. More so because of the way I talk about BMW drivers when I'm driving around myself. Not in a BMW, I hasten to add. So yeah, Detail Garage Livona, bang on with that one. You might even get a follow at some point and then just even come up with some other genius stuff, but that is absolutely the dog's dangly bits. I just love it. I just love it, love it, love it. Yeah, a hand clap from Alan as well. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Anyway, that is it for this week. We might have a quick look at the breaking news, see if anything's happened while I've been down. Oh, the Euros have gone down quite a lot. Oh, I've just seen the result of the... Oh, well, never mind. Putin humiliated as Russians' Nobel Prize ceremony. What? Nobel Prize ceremony. What? Oh no, I clicked on it. Oh no, gone. Go away. Let's try again, shall we? Putin's Nobel Prize ceremony invitation is revoked after outcry. Well, yeah, Nobel Peace Prize. Putin? I don't think so. Fears over new Priola COVID variant. A scientist warns UK has let Home Guard down. The Home Guard or On Guard? On Guard. So yeah, basically saying the new COVID is coming. List of schools fully or partially closed, because that's just going to go on and out. So. What Apple's iPhone 15 USB-C charger means for your chargers. That means you're going to use a different charger, and you can use other people's. Ideal place, what? Ideal place to store eggs to make them last longer. Yeah, I put mine in the fridge, but you get told not to put them in the fridge, but I like them out of the fridge, so it's fine. Putin puts Royal Navy on high alert, sends submarine and Patriot aircraft to start Russian warship sailing through English Channel. Ooh, they come to have a nosy, have they? COVID varied Eris causes summer surge. So we've got Eris, and what's the other one? Priola. I'll be your dog. I'll be your COVID variant. Priola. We all adore Priola. Sorry. 2 men arrested by officers investigating Northern Ireland police data breach. Oh, okay then, fair enough. Zelensky snubs Western critics over counter-offensive claims. Like I said, pinch of salt. More than 140 injured in clashes between Eritrean asylum seekers and Israeli police. It's all over the world. A murder arrest after partial human remains found beside a cliff path. I haven't figured out what's going on there. It's very weird. Rishi Sunak's approval rating slips as big summer push fails to spark revival. Well, yeah, it's going to slip, isn't it? That's it, I think. Yeah, that's it for latest news. Breaking news. So there you go then. We'll have a quick review back and we'll give a shout out to everyone who's chatted. So if you haven't chatted and you want to chat, feel free to chat. And I'll give you a shout out in a minute or two. You're one of these people who likes getting shouted at. Not shouted at, shouted, yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, just say something in the chat like hi or whatever. So yeah, we've got 9 current viewers. We've only had 4 likes, which is a bit lower than last week, which is a bit sad. We had 67 views overall, 14.09 the average view duration. Chat rate was very low today, has to be said, not much chatting going on. Big shout out to Alan, JT and Rachel. Miko, who was bobbed in earlier, a new arrival. Angela O'Kane, hopefully sorting stuff out with her family. Marty Hopkirk, yeah, we talk to dead people too. Jay Morris, Kim, big shout out to all you as well, and also to T in the background. Massive shout out to anyone who's listened to this on podcast, which is difficult unless you do the YouTube podcast, which does actually work, I believe. I don't do the podcast anymore because they wanted 99 quid off me and I wasn't making any money from it, so I'm like, no, you can stick that up your posterior. But this is available as a YouTube podcast. I've no idea how you listen to it, but if you want to, feel free. 2 hours and 2 minutes, so that's not bad. So yeah, massive shout out, big thank you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell as well, so you know when I'm online. And all being well, I will see you all again next time. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you. Oh no, you're up there now. I'll be seeing you, and bye. I said bye. Bye. Thank you, Alan.